Good morning. A bit of an early start for me and Alex this morning. We are at Barons BMW in Farnborough. So they're a BMW dealer obviously, but they have a pretty enormous range of approved used cars, and we are picking up our new Hack Engineering project car, which is pretty exciting. This isn't the first time we've filmed a little piece like this. We had the idea of, newer cars. There's a little bit less to look for in some ways on them, and you kind of know what you're getting, and so we didn't think we'd be too get off too badly by going to traders and whatnot, and it turns out actually we should trust our instincts from the off, and it was a pretty awful experience. I'm sure Alex will agree. It's
terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, just an absolute waste of time. People who don't know what they're looking at, and to be honest, even just pretty rubbish from start to finish, really. And the quality of the car is just really quite poor, which of course they don't tell you until you turn up, even though you ask them every detail you can. So the search has been going for a little while, and then when we said what we're buying, we'll get to that in a minute. I saw one on, I think I saw an Auto Trader first. Approved used BMW at Barons, and I think it was even at the weekend I just popped them a message asking a couple of details about it, and Lee here came straight back. He's been really helpful. He's WhatsApped me photos, videos, more details, paperwork, you name it. Throughout sort of all time of the day, just extremely helpful. So bit of a change from our previous experiences. Been really happy so far. We're about to go in, have a look at the car, hopefully come away with it, and go from there. You'll see what it is in a minute. It's time for the big reveal, is it? So we're not buying a G80. We are here this morning then to pick up an M140i. So after a lot of deliberation about what we should buy, we got rid of the E36 Touring, which was always sort of what we were known for. Obviously we're known really well for E46 M3s, E92 M3s, E36 M3s, all that sort of older stuff. It's difficult, that's probably, in all honesty, where our hearts lay. But if we had one, it would have to be the mintiest one we could possibly build, and it's just not really a business decision when you start doing that. So started to push ourselves into something we know a little bit less, which is something we do get quite excited about, the M135i and M140i. Small hatchbacks, big engines, rear-wheel drive, can't really go wrong, so it's time to pick one up and see what we can do with it.
And here we are with the new Hack Engineering M140i, sapphire black, so it's looking pretty tidy. We've just given it a bit of a once over, and sure enough the guys at Barons were true to their word, and actually it is a pretty tidy example, so I'm pretty excited to get it back to the workshop. Everyone's back there at the moment, cracking on with all the jobs, so I'm pretty sure they're excited as well for us to get it in and have a couple around.
Quick tour of the new car, to explain why we're getting it. Took a little while to find one that was in the spec we wanted. To give you a rundown of that was any colour but Estoril blue. We both love Estoril blue, but a lot of these in sort of lesser engines are in Estoril, and it kind of makes the M140 blend in a bit with the rest. We wanted an auto. Unfortunately there's not that many manuals around, and also in terms of parts development and everything we plan to do with this, the auto gearbox is the one, because there are more out there and more to do with it. This one's Shadow Edition, which is a big plus. I'm trying to think what else we expect. 3-door. Obviously, as you may have guessed, the kind of intention of this is development for track work. Probably nothing too extensive, but a 3-doors the one you want. Again, there's fewer of them. That's probably about it in terms of spec. Lee's been really helpful in terms of, essentially, although I saw this one first of all, I just told him exactly what spec we were looking for, and he kind of confirmed what others were around. and what we could do in terms of what other options there were, how many there were around in the company and whatnot. But yeah, this is the first one I saw, and this is the one.
Right, so here we are. We're in the new Hack Engineering owned M140i. Something a little bit different from what we're used to, but it's going to be good to have something a bit smaller and fundamentally a hot hatch in the workshop. So I'm pretty excited to actually start, you know, playing around with this and actually making it into quite a capable car. We've got Ben following us in the old Hack Engineering van. So we headed up to Farnborough today. Obviously, if you've just seen the video, we're now on our way back. So I think Ben and I are going to sort of take turns. So we've got about 60 miles to do. I think I'm going to do about 30, and then we'll pull over and Ben can jump in and see what he sort of reckons. We've driven a fair few of these between us. Obviously, lots of customers' cars coming in. We've done a fair few modifications. But in terms of what's out there, in terms of good quality products, it's not actually a great selection. So I hope we can do a good bit of development on it, start making a few new parts, design a few new parts, and actually sort of push these cars on. To sort of create the small BMW M car that I think BMW probably wanted it to be, but without the badge on it. So pretty excited to start pushing on with designing bits, and hopefully we'll pull into the workshop, and hopefully everyone back at HQ will be as excited to see it as we were when we picked it up this morning. That's a sapphire black example, pretty good condition. The only thing I noticed when looking around is there's a slight scratch on that wing, but it's not a brand new car. It's on a 67 plate. Mileage wise, I think it's on 38,000, so it's not new. It's had a few owners, but yeah, it's a pretty tip-top car. It seems to drive nice and straight. Obviously, the engine in the M140i is the B58, which is, in my opinion, one of the best modern BMWs, well, engines that they've created in sort of the last 10 years. Fantastically capable with not really a lot of flaws. Obviously, single turbo as well. A lot of capability can be taken from this engine. Or I could just waffle on about some stuff that I'm not massively confident that I'm saying is correct. I suppose that is why we bought this car, because every day is a school day. So we'll get clued up on these, and we'll get the knowledge on the B58 like we have on, say, the S54 or the S55 engines, which are obviously found in M3s, which we see day and night back in the workshop. So time to get the books out and get clued up on the old F20.
I have absolutely no idea what Alex has said about this. We're not really ones for a script, so I'll just start off with, I suppose, my first drive impressions. I have literally done about a mile now. In all honesty, I haven't spent a lot of time behind the wheel of one of these. Done plenty with M2s, M3s, M4s, etc. And it's a very familiar cabin. I mean, it really is basically the same, just with a few less buttons and whatnot. You know, gauges are different, little bits like that, but you know, most of it is essentially exactly the same. Gear select's a bit different. It's been 8-speed auto instead of DCT, and there's a few bits that are sort of gloss instead of carbon or whatever else on the M cars. And I think, well, actually, I suppose seats is really the big thing. Yeah, these aren't like the nice buckets you get in the M cars, but decent place to be. I know quite a few people complain about it being dated, but to be honest, I don't think that's necessarily true. Perhaps the fact it's got physical dials rather than digital, maybe, but I far prefer that. I think all too much is a screen these days. It's nice to have something that is actually it's electronically controlled, you know, a mechanical kind of thing to it. The steering's quite a bit lighter than an M car. I'd say this in sport is about the same weight as an M car in comfort, which I kind of prefer, to be honest. I think the M3s, M4s, etc. If you have the steering in sport, it's a bit too much. It's just heavy for the sake of it, almost. In my opinion, I'd always have them on comfort driving around. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a good plus point, to be honest, of this. The gearbox is really nice and quick. We've driven a few manual modern BMWs, and of course they're still good, they're still a manual, but I think the auto or DCT options are so good that actually when you drive a manual one, it does feel a bit slow and it doesn't feel natural, which is quite an odd thing to say for someone who, you know, I've always driven manuals, always preferred manuals, and yeah, this is, well, it's certainly the first automatic I've ever bought. But yeah, so far really impressed. It's actually really quick. No one really seems to have fully tracked one of these up yet. There are plenty, you know, more and more doing track days. You know, you see them on track day photos that pop up on Facebook or whatever. So really looking forward to at some point getting out there and seeing what they're made of. Common sort of reported weak points front end, so they're quite safe and understeery from factory, which we will be dealing with, and also the rear end can be really quite vague. Well, you know, really both halves of the car chassis wise are in need of improvement, but that's exactly why we bought this one, is because we want to fully engineer solutions, not just bolts and bits on and sort of hope for the best. It's that's not the way we do things, and yeah, by having it in-house we can take to bits, not have to get it back together for a customer, and fully engineer and draw up solutions to the problems, to really make them handle as they can. You know, they're capable, they're just a bit drawn back by the fact that really they are just a 1 series chassis wise. So you know, improvements to be made. You can use, you know, M4 front control arms, things like that, but we want to go a step further and really actually optimise that setup, work out exactly what that's doing. You know, it's all very well looking at an alignment setup and saying you've got a degree of camber, but really where are you moving all of your sort of suspension articulation to, and what effects does that have throughout the bump? Because there's a way BMW do things for a reason, and to swap control arms may give you an advantage, but we need to know exactly what it's doing at all points in its travel and make that work properly. So I'm quite excited about that. I think other than that, there's not really much to say about the car. It's yeah, really pleased with it. It was so easy this morning. We turned up, the car was, you know, ready and waiting for us, and yeah, we hadn't paid at that point. It's not that it was definitely ours. We could turn around and say we didn't want it, but they just went to all that effort to really make the experience a little bit special, which, yeah, it just, I mean, it doesn't take much really, does it? But it just makes for a completely different experience. And yeah, I will be calling Lee as soon as we get back to say how chuffed we are, because I just feel like he cares. You know, had a really good chat with him, learned a bit about him, he learned a bit about us. He's really, you know, seemed quite excited to show off the car, and I just, yeah, you just don't get that so much these days. So yeah, thank you Lee, and thank you Barons. We're really pleased with it, and yeah, I can't wait to do a bit more mileage in it, get more of a feel for it, so we can start building on what we're going to do with it. We've got a pretty good list anyway, which we'll talk about another time.
So is that, I just press the side button and then I press that button to stop it. Is that recording at the moment?
Yeah.
Right.